"50 years ago, a man offered a challenge to early car builders. What this country needs is a big new racetrack designed for automobiles instead of horses. The public will fight you every inch of the way if you try to races, and manufacturers would have to improve their products if they wanted to stay in business. Acting on his own advice, Carl Fisher created the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Years later, at Daytona, Florida, other men had a similar vision. No track was fast enough to test stock passenger automobiles at top speed. To answer this need, the fastest stock car racing track in the world was built, the Daytona International Speedway. The fans came early to watch practice sessions before the Daytona Grand National. A racetrack is a proving ground, and the testing may be carried to the point of destruction. In the space of 1 hour, in short practice sessions before the 500-mile race, all these failures occurred. Wherever there is a failure, under the stress of racing, the causes must be sorted out. When months of work are destroyed in minutes, the mechanics and engineers must ask, why? The answers were learned in the garages when the rebuilding began. Getting the cars ready for the Daytona Grand National became a race against time. Even those cars not involved in accidents were rebuilt and rebuilt again after running practice laps of almost 155 miles an hour. A 500-mile race is a tremendous test of men and cars, whether at Daytona or at Indianapolis. During the critical testing and rebuilding periods before any race, research and development engineers work together with mechanics and drivers in their search for power and performance. The same equipment proved in racing at Indianapolis and Daytona assures top performance on the highways. Through racing competition, the pros put this equipment to an all-out road test in great outdoor laboratories. In this way, still better products can be developed, and these better products lead to victory circles. Race day at Daytona International Speedway. 58 cars on the starting line. The rest, wrecked and ruined. That is the story behind the glittering paint and the race day excitement. 65,000 fans, the largest crowd ever gathered in Daytona's history, wait for a 500-mile race that, despite all warnings, promises to be the fastest of them all. The racing stock cars are on their way. Bill France, president of the National Association for Stock Cars and president of the Daytona International Speedway, drives the pace car that leads them out of the pit road, around the giant 2.5-mile racetrack, and back to the starting line for the traditional flying start. Here are the leaders coming out of the first and second turns, moving up the backstretch. In the first row, the fastest qualifiers, Fireball Roberts in number 22, and next to him, Joe Weatherly in number 8. Both new Pontiacs in the first big race of the year. Into the third and fourth turn, the pace is faster. Number 22, Roberts at the wheel, qualified for the front row by running 155.7 miles an hour. Weatherly was only a hair slower. Nobody on that racetrack is slower than 145, except the pace car. And now that is moving off the track. They'll get the green flag now. And the race is on. Weatherly leads down the front stretch, but Roberts grabs position 1, soaring into the high bank turn at 150 miles an hour. Weatherly holds second place as they sweep through the turn. Roberts in number 22 Pontiac showing the way as he winds up that big engine. Look at them run! On the backstretch, Weatherly closes in, trying to make a race of it. But Roberts doesn't lift his foot as he looks at that wall. He climbs into the high groove at full speed, heading for the front stretch with Weatherly in second place and 5 more fast cars bunched up right behind him. End of lap 1. Speed, more than 151 miles an hour. And this is only the beginning. Weatherly challenges, but Roberts in number 22 Pontiac plants his foot a little deeper, turning his second lap at 154 miles an hour. He's running laps within a fraction of a second of his own one-lap qualifying record. Out of the pack, Banjo Matthews in number 94 Ford is running at 155 miles an hour, fender to fender with Joe Weatherly in a bid for second place. Matthews is making his move, blasting past Weatherly's number 8 to challenge Roberts for first place. Other challengers coming fast. Junior Johnson in number 27 Pontiac is standing on the throttle at 155 miles an hour. Right behind him, Paul Goldsmith's white Pontiac has moved from 17th starting position and is now running 5th. Rex White, defending NASCAR champion, moves his Chevrolet within striking distance of the leaders. Banjo Matthews' red and white Ford drops back, and Junior Johnson grabs second place. Roberts wants to go, but signals from the pit hold him down. His chief mechanic, Smokey Unick, wants Roberts to run at 153 and let the challengers wear themselves out at higher speeds. The lead goes to number 27, Junior Johnson, winner of this race a year ago. But Johnson's in trouble. Johnson turned laps at better than 155 miles an hour in his wild ride into first place. Roberts takes back position 1 after running the first 100 miles in less than 40 minutes. Junior Johnson is through. Driving a borrowed car, his chin still bandaged from a wreck early in the week, Johnson lead-footed his way from 43rd starting position. Paul Goldsmith's white 31 takes up the chase. He's running 154 miles an hour to hold second place. This speed is more than many cars can take. This racetrack breaks up engines and chassis. It's all out, all the way. There's no place where drivers can breathe the engines by running at reduced speed. Before the race is half over, 17 cars are parked in the pit area. Although many cars limp into the pits, some get there in a hurry. At 250 miles, Fireball Roberts in his Pontiac has set a new record. Making only one pit stop, Roberts has run half the race at an average speed of 151 miles an hour. Now running second, Marvin Panch, Pontiac number 20, team car to Fireball Roberts. Look out, 2 cars spinning. After running with the leaders all afternoon, Banjo Matthews tangles with Darrell Derringer with less than 20 laps to go. Derringer is stalled on the racetrack with high-speed traffic bearing down on him. Derringer is underway. He's moving off the high bank and nursing his car toward the pits. Banjo Matthews is all right, but he's all through. The tension mounts as the laps tick away. With less than 50 miles to run, Fireball Roberts has set a new record at every distance. His average speed at the end of 450 miles is still more than 151 miles an hour. But something is wrong. Is it Roberts? There's a car heading into the pits. It is Fireball. With only 13 laps to go, Fireball Roberts is in the pits. Can his crew perform some mechanical miracle to keep him running for another 30 miles? Marvin Patch, Roberts' teammate, has been running a full lap behind the leader. He takes over first place from Roberts, but Joe Weatherly, now only 16 seconds behind Patch, makes his move. Roberts is the victim of a freak mechanical failure. Vibration shook the starter loose. It fell, bounced off the racetrack, and tore a hole in the oil pan. Patch, number 20, is warned that Weatherly is right behind him. But Roberts hasn't the heart to watch the battle of his teammate going through the last laps. 50 feet away, Bud Moore, mechanic for Joe Weatherly, also knows the heartbreak of defeat. Before the race, he said, "I wish that car of ours was just a half a mile an hour faster." 16 seconds separate Weatherly and mechanic Moore from position 1. But that Patch can run. Goldsmith, number 31, is third. Patch bores ahead, coming up to the checkered flag. Uh-oh! Larry Frank slides into the infield and out of the way as Marvin Patch wheels his Pontiac across the finish line. Smokey Unique, the winning mechanic, accepts congratulations with mixed emotions. Patch slows down, takes an extra lap for insurance, and then turns down the pit road to the victory circle. This ride has earned Marvin Patch more than $20,000, the lion's share of the total purse of almost $100,000. Patch also gained valuable points in standing for the NASCAR National Championship. Marvin Patch, in a Pontiac, completed the 500-mile run at an average speed of 149.6 miles an hour, a new world's record for a continuous 500-mile race anywhere. His speed proved beyond question that this is the fastest stock car track in the world, and proved also the dependability of products tested here. At Indianapolis, the 500 is tradition. This year, celebrating its golden anniversary in the only way it knows, big. The biggest crowd in the 50-year history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway moves through the main gate. The finest assembly of racing specials ever to run at the famous old track are lined up, waiting for the starting signal. The drivers are ready. Roger Ward, winner in 1959, has the confidence of a man who has beaten this track. Only one man outpointed Ward in big car racing, A.J. Foyt, national champion. Foyt, a 26-year-old Texan, has run only 3 years at the Speedway. But he knows his way around. Eddie Sachs, ready at the pole position. Jim Hurtubise, known as Hercules, and a favorite with race fans. Bill Cheeseburg stands by his machine. This is Cheeseburg's 6th year at Indianapolis. Johnny Boyd, another veteran, now ready to go in his 7th race. Jack Turner cinches up his safety belt and waits for the command to start engines. Gene Hartley, another of 33 drivers, all anxious to be on their way. Parnelli Jones, a sensational rookie, gets last-minute advice. But when the signal is given, "Gentlemen, start your engines," it's too late for advice. You are alone with your car the track, and history. From the pace car, Tony Holman, president of the Speedway, signals the cars ahead. In the proud Indiana tradition, they begin the slow pace lap, which will lead to a flying start. This track, built 50 years ago, is still one of the greatest challenges in auto racing. It was designed in 1911 for a top speed of 90 miles an hour. Today, it is a test of the skill and courage of drivers in a way that sets Indianapolis apart from any other race in the world. These racing specials reach 180 miles an hour on the straightaway and turn left through the almost unbanked turns at 135 miles an hour. The field is dominated by four-cylinder Meyer-Drake engines, which develop almost 400 horsepower, although piston displacement is limited by the United States Auto Club rules to 256 cubic inches. They wheel through the third and fourth turn, heading for the front stretch and the green flag that starts the race. The pace car leaves the track. There's the green flag. A beautiful start. Eddie Sachs leads them down the straightaway with Jim Hurtubise outside as they reach the first turn. Out of the second turn, Hurtubise takes the lead. 33 cars string out, moving down the backstretch, with Hurtubise holding first place. Eddie Sachs is second. This is the fastest start in Speedway history. End of one lap. Hurtubise moving away. Eddie Sachs defends second place, meeting a challenge from Bill Cheeseburg. At the end of the backstretch, Cheeseburg takes second place. But Hurtubise, living up to his nickname, has built a 3-second lead by running 145 miles an hour. 3 enormous seconds. Only 8 cars choose to run with Hurtubise. The others fall back, easing the strain on their machines. Hurtubise runs the first 50 miles in less than 21 minutes, setting new records as he goes. Each man runs his own race against the clock and against the track. They pass and repass, their clocks running faster, then slower. Each driver runs in his own private world of time, and out of time, they write the history of the 500. Hurtubise makes history for 30 minutes, setting a sizzling pace of 145 miles an hour. But even as he slows to pit, 5 cars, led by Jim Rathman, streak past. By running hard, Hurtubise has committed himself to a 4-pit stop race, and there is no timeout in the pits. Hurtubise drinks a cup of water while he waits and asks for another. But pit work by a 5-man crew is so smooth and fast, he doesn't have time to drink it. Rolling again in only 18 seconds, he has dropped from 1st to 16th position. Jim Rathman, the winner a year ago, makes an unscheduled pit stop with a broken magneto. Rathman was leading at 100 miles, covering the distance in 41 minutes. But he's through for the day. He stops counting the split seconds. He has a year to wait. Parnelli Jones, the rookie who drives like a veteran, is leading the pack coming into the front stretch. There's trouble on the main straightaway. Don Davis spins and comes to a stop in front of 160-mile-an-hour traffic. The crowd shouts a warning, sensing that more trouble is coming, as Davis, a rookie, is slow leaving his car. He seems stunned and bewildered. Look out! Another rookie, A.J. Shepard, is out of control. Cars tangle and come to a halt at the end of the straightaway. but no one is injured. Slow motion cameras saw the accident in greater detail. Davis's spin was caused by a broken oil tank on his car, which sprayed his wheels with oil. Davis was skidding on ice for hundreds of yards in his wild ride, desperately attempting to bring his car under control. One car had already passed the stall number 83 on the inside, but when Davis walked across that narrow corridor, Shepard tried to change direction and lost control. Shepard hit the wall and then slammed into Bill Cheeseburg's car. With the track blocked, another car, driven by Roger McCluskey, spun out. Brilliant driving by Johnny Boyd took him around trouble. But at that moment, Jack Turner, attempting to avoid the pileup, flipped. Turner landed right side up. Lloyd Ruby's car coasted slowly around the disabled machines toward the infield, where his engine was later restarted. In a few moments, all 5 drivers were out of their cars and safely in the pits, ending one of the most spectacular chain reactions in Indianapolis history. A slight cut on Jack Turner's knee is the only bodily injury suffered by any of the drivers involved in the crash. Helmets, seat belts, shoulder harnesses, and roll bars were important factors in preventing injury. 5 cars are out of competition. When the track is clear, the green flag sends 24 cars back to high speed. A.J. Foyt leads with Eddie Sachs closing in. Sachs is now in position 2. Jim Hurtubise reaches the halfway point, 250 miles, and is out of the race. Engine failure halts a brilliant runner. Eddie Sachs catches A.J. Foyt on the front stretch, and he passes to take the lead after 300 miles. Troy Ruttman's car is pushed to the garage. The clutch failed during a pit stop, but not before Ruttman turned the fastest leading lap in Speedway history, more than 148 miles an hour. He joins Jim Rathman as the second 500 winner out of competition. Sachs and Foyt are locked in an all-out battle. Foyt, the national champion, retakes position 1. After 2.5 hours of racing, only car lengths separate the 2 leaders, Foyt and Sachs. Then the crowd comes to its feet as Eddie Sachs makes his last scheduled pit stop. As Sachs slows down, A.J. Foyt roars past the pits, firmly in the lead. Every second that Sachs spends in the pits, Foyt gains another 200 feet. Foyt is running better than 145 miles an hour with 40 laps, 100 miles still to go. Sachs is away in 22 seconds. Out of the first turn, Sachs is up to full racing speed, but half a lap behind A.J. Foyt, who has not made his last scheduled stop. Here comes Foyt, the national champion, into the pits. There's a precautionary tire change, but something is wrong with the refueling mechanism. A high-speed aircraft-type fuel nozzle refuses to engage a special fitting on the car. Frank Catania, the man in charge of fueling, fights the nozzle for 20 of the longest seconds in his life, but no fuel is delivered. Chief Mechanic George Bignotti makes a split-second decision to send him out. Unaware of the problem facing his crew, Foyt pulls away, ready to pick up the battle with Sachs. Does he have enough fuel to go the distance? His crew watches for him to come off the 4th turn. There he is, wheel to wheel with Sachs, and 80 miles to go. Late stop. Foyt doesn't know why, but he stands on the throttle trying to stretch his lead over Sachs. While Foyt tries to gain the precious seconds he needs for a pit stop, his Bose seal-fast crew borrow a fueling rig from a crew whose car is out of the race. Running low on fuel gives Foyt a temporary advantage. With less weight, his car has more speed. Sachs, straining to win the race, drives all out to keep up with the leader. Sachs is running harder through the corners, giving his tires terrific punishment in his bid for victory. Foyt is gaining, and his crew signal him to keep going until they're ready for him, or until his engine begins to cough. Foyt gains only a handful of seconds before his engine sputters, but now his crew is ready. Here he comes. Foyt is forced to pit only 15 laps short of victory. Five seconds. 10 seconds. Go! Go! He's away in 15 seconds. But to Frank Catania, who handled the fueling, those few seconds may have buried a year of work and hope. Eddie Sachs has the lead with only 10 laps, 25 miles left to run. Slowing down to pit and refueling put Foyt 30 seconds behind. Sachs gets the good news, a winning grip on first place. His mechanic, Clint Bronner, gives him the okay sign. Right behind the pit fence, Nancy Sachs is waiting out the last laps. Only 10 miles to go now. 4 more minutes. The Bose team has just about given up hope. But suddenly the crowd sees something. Eddie Sachs is coming into his pit, only 3 laps away from victory. Sachs has worn one tire past the safety margin in his all-out effort to stay with Foyt. Foyt had been running faster without a fuel load. Foyt's crew is wild. Here comes their man, and a new chance to win. Sachs is out of the pits as Foyt roars past. 7.5 miles to go, only 3 more laps. Foyt takes position 1. Roaring out of the pits, Sachs is less than 10 seconds behind him. Look at that man travel. Can he catch Foyt? The cars are on the backstretch now. There's nothing to do for half a minute, while the drivers battle for first place. It's Foyt. He's holding the lead. Two more laps. The Bose team is back in first place. Bob Bose and Chief Mechanic George Mignotti are co-owners of the car that Foyt is handling. Sachs is closer. The white flag, 1 more lap. Sachs is only seconds behind. And he said he wouldn't quit racing until he won the 500. Less than half a minute now. There's the checkered flag for A.J. Foyt, national champion. And now, the winner of the Indianapolis 500. Once, 24 years ago, Wilbur Shaw beat Ralph Hepburn by 2 seconds. But this 8-second margin is the second closest finish in Speedway history. The waiting is over. The Bose crew is on its way to Victory Circle. They'll greet A.J. Foyt, who at 26 is just about half as old as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Foyt has just won the biggest share of the biggest purse it has ever offered. The driver and his teammates will divide almost $118,000 of the total Speedway purse of $400,000. Only 12 cars of the original starting field of 33 were running when the checkered flag waved for A.J. Foyt. Indianapolis is still a challenge to cars, men, and equipment. In every 500-mile race on the Daytona International Speedway, and for the 12th straight year at Indianapolis, the winning cars have been equipped with perfect circle piston rings. The rings the pros prefer.